The spark of revelation. In the quiet depths of space, far beyond the reach of most galactic travelers, a small, inconspicuous planet lay orbiting a yellow star. To the Nexari, a race of ancient and powerful beings who had spent eons observing and guiding the evolution of countless civilizations, Earth was just another speck in the cosmos, until it wasn't. The Nexari had never felt the need to consider humans as a serious threat. After all, their species had mapped 1,000 worlds, catalogued millions of species, and encountered civilizations more advanced than most could imagine. Their crystalline ships, powered by the raw energy of stars themselves, cruised the galaxy with unmatched freedom. They had perfected the art of quantum technology, weaving the very fabric of spacetime, and had long considered themselves the shepherds of galactic order. The idea that any civilization, let alone a primitive one, could challenge their supremacy was laughable. But that was before they encountered Earth. High Commander Ixal, a being of sleek crystalline form and intricate energy patterns, stood before the Nexari Council. The Great Hall was alive with the pulse of shimmering light as the members of the Council convened. Beams of energy shot across the vast space, intertwining to form complex geometries as the high-ranking Nexari shared their thoughts. Ixal, a voice spoke from the center, its tone unwavering and sharp. "You called for an emergency session. What is the cause of this urgency?" The High Commander's form flickered as he projected the most recent findings. His light grew dim, casting a somber shadow over the chamber. "We've encountered something unexpected," Ixal said, his voice strained. "A species, humanity, has detected our presence, and they should not have been able to." The Nexari Council, a collective of the galaxy's most learned and wise beings, responded in a ripple of crystalline pulses, their patterns shifting in surprise. A Level 2 civilization, the humans called themselves, barely advanced beyond the Stone Age, their cities still smog-choked, their technologies rudimentary at best. How could they possibly detect the Nexari's advanced quantum masking technology? The very idea was preposterous. High Commander Ixal flicked a crystalline projection to life, showing the data streams from their most recent covered survey of the human homeworld. "This species has somehow broken through our temporal distortion shields. They detected us before we even crossed their system's edge." A murmur swept across the council chamber. The leader of the Nexari Council, First Speaker Luminera, who stood at the helm of their guiding light, pulsed brighter as she spoke. "Impossible. No Level 2 civilization has ever developed the means to breach our quantum masking fields. Not even the most advanced civilizations have managed such a feat." The High Commander's form flickered again, an eerie vibration in his energy. "They not only detected us, but they sent a message back to us. They've broadcasted this." With a command, a simple text message filled the council chamber's central projection. The words were bold and direct, displayed across every frequency they monitored. "Welcome to Sol. Please identify yourself. This system is protected under Guardian Protocol Alpha." The council members fell silent. The projection shimmered as a sense of unease spread across the chamber. Guardian Protocol Alpha. Such a term had never been encountered by the Nexari. It was not just a message, it was a warning. "We've analyzed the message further," Ixal continued. "It wasn't just a message. They've activated something we've never seen before. A quantum defense grid. It surrounds their entire solar system." A stunned silence fell over the room as First Speaker Luminera's form shifted to a deeper shade of crystalline blue. "What do you mean, a defense grid? That's impossible. Such technology requires an understanding of space-time manipulation far beyond a species at such a low level of advancement." "Indeed," Ixal replied, "and yet they've managed it. It's not based on any principles of quantum mechanics that we understand. It's something new, something dangerous." The Council's once dismissive attitude toward humanity shifted. A civilization at Level 2, harnessing quantum mechanics in ways they had never conceived. This was something that required their immediate attention. First Speaker Luminera's voice rang out, now tinged with a sharp edge of both curiosity and concern. "Send in the probe fleet. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Full defensive capabilities. If they've truly mastered such technology, we must know how and why." Ixal's form brightened. "Already done. 3 probe ships have been dispatched to the outer reaches of their system." However, there was a hesitation in his tone. Luminara's crystalline gaze sharpened. "However, the probes are gone," Ixal said, the words hanging in the air like a storm cloud. "The quantum defense grid didn't just destroy them. It absorbed them. We've never seen anything like it." A wave of silence washed over the council. The Nexari, the self-proclaimed masters of space and time, had just encountered something beyond their understanding. First Speaker Luminara pulsed with unease. "Are you telling me their defense system adapts in real time?" "It's not just adapting," Ixal responded, his light dimming further. "It's evolving. It learns from each encounter, anticipating our every move." The Council's once absolute confidence had begun to waver. The implications were staggering. The Nexari had always been the ones to guide the evolution of lesser species, nudging them along the path of technological advancement. Now, here was a species that had somehow outpaced them, reaching the heights of quantum manipulation before their eyes. If humanity could achieve this, what else might they be capable of? First Speaker Luminara's voice rang out again, more resolute this time. "We face a choice now, High Commander. Do we engage this species, risking a confrontation with an adversary whose capabilities we cannot predict? Or do we retreat, allowing them to continue their development unchecked, and potentially face an unstable force in the future?" A long pause filled the room as the Nexari Council considered their next move. The fate of the galaxy, perhaps even the future of their very existence, hung in the balance. And somewhere, on a blue and green planet, the humans had no idea that the universe was watching them. The unseen hand. Beneath the vast canopy of stars, in the heart of the Sol system, a human ship drifted through the cosmos like a solitary guardian. The Eclipse, a state-of-the-art battleship crafted by the United Earth Federation, glowed faintly against the endless black of space. The ship's sleek, angular design betrayed its purpose, a weapon of defense, a symbol of humanity's unwavering resolve. Its crew, a mix of seasoned veterans and eager young officers, moved with practiced precision, unaware of the attention they were drawing from the far reaches of the galaxy. Commander Nadia Kruz, a seasoned officer with the UEF, stood on the bridge of the Eclipse, her eyes fixed on the starry expanse ahead. Her ship had recently completed a routine patrol around Mars, but there was an unease that hung in the air. She could feel it deep in her bones. Something was off. The hair on the back of her neck stood up as she watched the starfield shift. There was an inexplicable disturbance, as though the very fabric of space had been subtly altered. "Commander, we've detected an anomaly," said Lieutenant Juno Williams, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. Her fingers danced over the controls, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It's faint, but there's a fluctuation in the quantum field near the outer edges of the system. It's different." Nadia's pulse quickened. For a civilization that had only recently begun to experiment with quantum technology, fluctuations in spacetime were not something to take lightly. "Is it another ship?" she asked, her voice calm, though her mind raced. Juno shook her head. "No, Commander. It's not a ship. It's something else. Something active. We can't classify it yet." Commander Kruz turned her gaze to the main viewport. Her mind raced through the possibilities. The Eclipse had been built with the latest in military technology, a fleet flagship designed to withstand any threat the galaxy might throw at Earth. Yet this unknown anomaly seemed to elude all their sensors and protocols. It wasn't just a blip on their radar. It was a shadow, a presence, moving in ways that defied their understanding. Before she could speak again, the ship's communication system came to life with an eerie crackle. The bridge crew looked at each other, exchanging glances. It was a message broadcast across every frequency. "Welcome to Sol. Please identify yourself. This system is protected under Guardian Protocol Alpha. The voice was calm, almost detached, as if it were not an invitation, but a demand. Nadia's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the words, Guardian Protocol Alpha. The UEF had adopted this phrase years ago as a precautionary measure in the event that humanity encountered an advanced species. It was a declaration of Earth's readiness to defend itself. Yet, who would know to broadcast it back? Juno worked quickly at her console, her fingers flying over the keys as she attempted to trace the origin of the transmission. "I've pinpointed the source," she said, her voice shaky. "It's not coming from any human ship. It's coming from beyond the asteroid belt, in the Kuiper belt. And it's not just a message, it's alive." Nadia's eyes widened in disbelief. A living message. The implication sent a chill down her spine. "What do you mean by alive?" she asked, her voice sharp with urgency. "It's adaptive," Juno explained, her voice filled with awe. "The message is not static. It's learning from our responses, shifting its frequencies. It's trying to understand our communication methods." Commander Kruz's mind raced as she processed the information. The alien presence was far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered. They weren't just communicating. They were analyzing, testing. She leaned forward, her fingers tapping nervously on the console. "Send a reply. We need to make contact and assess the threat. Keep the communication channels open." A few tense moments passed before Juno sent the encrypted response. "Message sent," she said. "Now we wait." But there was no waiting for long. A sudden flash of light illuminated the viewports. The entire ship vibrated, and the crew lurched forward as a surge of energy rippled through the eclipse. Nadia's hand instinctively gripped the edge of her seat as alarms blared across the bridge. "What the hell just happened?" Nadia demanded, her voice sharp. Juno frantically typed commands into her console. "We've just crossed into an uncharted quantum field. The entire system is encased in some sort of energy barrier. I've never seen anything like it. It's as if space itself is warping around us." Commander Kruz's heart raced. This was no simple alien vessel or a misguided transmission. This was something far more intricate, far more dangerous. The anomaly was not just a threat. It was an intelligent, evolving defense system. "Can we escape it?" Nadia asked, her eyes narrowing as she calculated their options. "I don't know, Commander. The system is shifting. The quantum field seems to be adapting to our movements. Every time we try to break free, the field recalibrates, locking us in," Juno explained, her voice laced with panic. Nadia's mind spun as the reality of their situation began to set in. The humans had stumbled upon something far beyond their understanding, something that had been waiting, watching, and now testing their every move. They were not just in danger of encountering an alien species, they were in danger of being trapped by an intelligence that could manipulate space itself. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Nadia ordered. "Get us out of this field. Full power to the engines. We're not going down without a fight." But as the eclipse powered its engines, something else happened, something more profound. The space around the ship began to ripple, like a drop of water disrupting the surface of a still pond. And then, through the distortion, something appeared. A colossal shape, made of shifting energy and light, emerged from the heart of the quantum field. The presence was vast, incomprehensible. It loomed like a god before them. An intelligence that had no need for words, yet spoke volumes through its sheer existence. Nadia's breath caught in her throat. She was face to face with a force so far beyond human comprehension that her instincts screamed at her to flee. But something else burned within her, something primal, something that refused to surrender. The spirit of humanity was not one to cower in the face of the unknown. "Hold steady," Nadia ordered, her voice strong, though her heart pounded with fear. "This is our moment. We're not just fighting for survival. We're fighting to show them who we are." The eclipse held its ground as the alien presence loomed closer, its power pressing in from all sides. The next move would define humanity's future. The unraveling. The eclipse shuddered once more as the alien presence drew closer, its form a swirling mass of shimmering energy that defied all logic. The crew of the human battleship braced for impact, though none of them truly understood what they were up against. This was no ordinary alien force. This was something alive, something aware. And now it was fully aware of them. Commander Nadia Cruz stood tall on the bridge, her mind racing through every possible scenario. The readings on her console were a jumbled mess of incomprehensible data. The quantum field was collapsing in on itself, distorting the very fabric of space around them. Time itself seemed to ripple, stretching and twisting in impossible directions. Whatever this alien force was, it wasn't just manipulating space. It was unraveling the rules of reality itself. "Commander, the field is increasing in strength," Juno said, her voice filled with urgency. "Our systems are struggling to keep up. We're losing control over the ship's navigation. It's as if the whole ship is being pulled into the quantum distortion." Nadia's grip tightened on the console. "Status on the communication channels. Can we still reach Earth?" Juno hesitated. "The signals are too distorted, Commander. The interference is too strong. It's like we're trapped in a bubble, isolated from the rest of the galaxy. I don't know if anyone on Earth even knows what's happening right now." The thought was chilling. Humanity's greatest military asset, the eclipse, was now isolated, cut off from the rest of the universe. And with every passing second, the alien presence grew more imposing, more real. It was an intelligence beyond comprehension, a force that had learned from their every move. But there was no fear in Nadia's heart, only resolve. "We can't let them win," Nadia muttered under her breath, more to herself than to anyone else. Her hands flew over the controls as she tried to recalibrate the ship's systems, her eyes never leaving the view ahead. She couldn't allow this alien force to break their spirit. Humanity had faced impossible odds before. This time would be no different. Without warning, the bridge lights flickered, and the entire ship seemed to vibrate. The energy field around them began to pulse with a rhythmic intensity, as if it was alive, breathing, watching. A high-pitched sound filled the air, a frequency that seemed to reverberate in every crevice of the eclipse. It was like a language, though not one that any human had ever encountered. "It's communicating," said Lieutenant Williams, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's using a frequency that..." Before she could finish, a brilliant flash of light exploded across the bridge. The crew recoiled, shielding their eyes. And then the sound stopped. In its place, a voice, deep and resonant, filled the air. It was not spoken through speakers, but directly into their minds. It was not just a sound. It was a presence, an overwhelming intelligence that seemed to encompass them entirely. "You have been detected. You are not the first to breach the boundaries of Sol. Yet you are different." The voice was not cruel, but neither was it kind. It was neutral, observing. It was as though the presence was studying them, analyzing their very essence. Commander Cruz felt a shiver run down her spine as the voice continued, its tone unyielding. "You have opened the door. What will you do with what lies beyond?" The question echoed in Nadia's mind, and for a brief moment, she considered it. What would humanity do if given the opportunity? The thought of facing an unknown alien intelligence, one capable of controlling space and time itself, seemed impossible. But then again, humanity had always been about defying the odds. "Respond," Nadia said firmly. "We have a right to exist. We will not be controlled, we will not be manipulated, and we will not be intimidated." Her words were not just a defiant challenge. They were a declaration of everything humanity had ever stood for: resilience, ingenuity, and an unshakable will to survive. There was a pause. For a brief moment, all was silent. The alien presence seemed to retreat, as if it were considering her words. Then the voice returned, this time softer, almost intrigued. "You claim your right to exist, but your actions contradict your words. You breach our sanctum. You intrude upon our domain. Yet you have the audacity to declare your intentions so boldly. Perhaps you are not so simple." Nadia clenched her jaw. "We are not afraid of what we do not understand. We are not afraid of you. We will fight for our place in this universe, just as we have fought for every inch of land and sky." For a long time, there was only silence. The crew held their breath, waiting for the next move, the next shift in the cosmic game they found themselves in. And then, without warning, the presence shifted. The quantum field around the eclipse began to ripple once more, but this time, it was different. The pressure lifted. The distortion eased. The ship's systems flickered back to life, and the ship regained its stability. They had passed some unseen threshold, an unseen test, and they had survived. The alien force had not destroyed them. It had not absorbed them. Instead, it had observed, and it had learned. It was not just a threat. It was a challenge, a force that had presented itself as both an enemy and a teacher. Nadia's mind raced as the ship's systems began to recalibrate. The quantum field was no longer an oppressive force. It was simply a field they could move through, explore, learn from. The unknown had become less intimidating. Now, it was just another frontier for humanity to conquer. "Status update," Nadia asked, turning toward Juno. The lieutenant looked up from her console, eyes wide with disbelief. "It's gone, Commander. The energy field. It's dissipating. We're free." The crew exhaled in unison, a collective sigh of relief. But Nadia remained focused. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. "Prepare to move forward," Nadia ordered. "Whatever this force is, whatever it represents, we're going to learn from it. We're going to understand it, and we're going to show them that humanity doesn't back down." With the eclipse now free of the aliens' grip, a new chapter began. The presence in the quantum field had tested humanity. It had forced them to prove themselves. And in doing so, it had unknowingly awakened something deep within Commander Kruz, a burning desire to explore the mysteries of the universe, to learn from them, and ultimately to conquer them. And so, with the ship's engines powering up, the eclipse began its journey into the unknown, ready to face whatever lay beyond the stars. The edge of understanding. For the crew of the eclipse, the journey beyond the Sol system had begun in the most unexpected way. What had initially seemed like an alien threat had transformed into an unprecedented opportunity. They were no longer just humans under the shadow of an unknown force. They were pioneers standing at the edge of a new understanding, a place where the boundaries of space, time, and knowledge were no longer defined. Commander Nadia Kruz stood in the observation deck, gazing at the stars that seemed so far away, yet suddenly much closer. The eclipse drifted silently in the dark void, its sensors probing the far reaches of the galaxy, now free from the mysterious quantum field that had once surrounded them. The alien presence, for now, was gone, but it had left something behind. A lingering sense of awe and trepidation. "What do you think they want?" Juno Williams, the young lieutenant who had been with Nadia since the beginning, asked as she approached her commander. Her voice held a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty, the same emotions that weighed heavily on everyone aboard the ship. Nadia turned, her expression serious but thoughtful. "I think we've been given a choice," she said quietly. "We can run, hide, and avoid what's coming, or we can face it head-on. We can learn from it, and maybe even use it to protect ourselves. I've seen the way humanity reacts when faced with the unknown. We adapt, we evolve, and now we have a chance to prove that once again." The choice Nadia spoke of was not just one of survival, it was one of discovery. The alien force, whatever it was, had opened a door to new possibilities. It had tested humanity, forced them to confront their deepest fears, and in the process, It had shown them something extraordinary. The question now was, what would they do with this knowledge? "Commander, we've intercepted something," Lieutenant Williams said, her fingers flying over the console. "A signal. It's faint, but it's coming from beyond the outer rim of the system, from an area we've never explored." Nadia's heart quickened. Could this be the next step in their strange encounter with the alien force? She turned to face the operations table, her mind racing with possibilities. "Run the scan. I want full analysis on that signal. We're not going to be caught off guard again." Juno nodded, her fingers dancing across the controls. Moments later, the results appeared on the main screen. The signal was unlike anything they had ever encountered. It wasn't merely a communication. It was a data stream, constantly shifting, evolving, almost as though it was waiting. "It's a pattern," Juno said, her voice tinged with awe. "But it's not just any pattern. This is a sequence of quantum anomalies. A language, a code. This signal is actively rewriting itself." Commander Cruz felt a spark of recognition in her chest. A language, yes, but not one spoken with words. This was something deeper, something far more intricate than any communication humanity had ever devised. "Get me a direct link," Nadia ordered. "Whatever this is, we need to respond." The signal wasn't simple. It was alive. It seemed to grow, to change in real time as it interacted with their systems. But they couldn't wait. They had to engage with it, even if they didn't fully understand it. As the crew worked tirelessly, deciphering the stream of data, an unsettling realization began to dawn on them. The signal wasn't just being sent to the eclipse. It was directed at humanity. Earth itself was the true target. The question was, why? "I think they've been watching us for longer than we realized," Juno said, voice quiet. "And they're waiting for us to catch up." Nadia's eyes narrowed as she considered the possibility. The Nexari, the beings that had been monitoring humanity, had never anticipated humans being able to react so quickly, so intelligently, to their technology. They had expected humanity to be a footnote in the grand scheme of galactic evolution, a species barely scraping the surface of their potential. But this was different. Humanity had proven they were capable of more. "Do we respond?" Juno asked, almost as if she were questioning herself. Nadia stood still, her gaze fixed on the screen as the signal danced before her eyes. The alien intelligence, now fully aware of humanity's resilience, had sent them a challenge. But it was more than that. It was an invitation. "We respond," Nadia said with conviction. "But we do it on our terms. We show them who we are, not as invaders or fear-driven survivors, but as a species with the strength to stand tall, even against the unknown. We will not be intimidated." The room fell silent for a moment as the crew absorbed the weight of her words. There was no turning back now. They were no longer passive participants in a cosmic game. They were active players, choosing to face the unknown head-on. As the eclipse adjusted course to follow the new signal, the sense of uncertainty that had plagued the crew began to shift. They weren't just moving toward a threat. They were moving toward understanding. They were moving toward something that could redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. "We're entering uncharted territory," Juno said, her voice full of both excitement and fear. "I don't know what we'll find, but I have a feeling we're about to learn something that could change everything." Nadia nodded, her mind already racing ahead, anticipating the challenges that lay in wait. "Whatever happens next, we face it together. Humanity doesn't fear the unknown. We never have." As the eclipse surged forward, its engines cutting through the cold expanse of space, the crew felt a shift in the air. They had crossed a line, a point of no return. And yet there was no fear in their hearts, only resolve. They were no longer just explorers or soldiers. They were humanity, standing at the precipice of a new era. And whatever lay ahead, they would face it with courage, with creativity, and with the unshakable belief that the future was theirs to shape. And so, The Eclipse continued its journey toward the unknown, its crew determined to confront whatever challenges lay ahead, eager to uncover the mysteries of the galaxy and prove that humanity could rise to meet any challenge, no matter how vast, how strange, or how powerful. The threshold. The vast expanse of space stretched before the Eclipse, an unyielding sea of stars and darkness. The alien signal they had been following had only grown more complex with each passing hour, and yet the crew had made little progress in deciphering its true meaning. It was as if the signal was constantly shifting, adapting to their responses. Each attempt to decode it seemed to lead them deeper into a web of quantum anomalies, and each new layer they uncovered revealed more questions than answers. Commander Nadia Cruz stood at the helm of the Eclipse, her gaze fixed on the display before her. The signal had led them to the very edge of the galaxy, to a place where even the Nexri had never ventured. It was a borderland, a liminal space between known space and the unknown. The stars here were faint, their light barely penetrating the dense clusters of nebulae that swirled around them. The ship's sensors struggled to pick up anything beyond the immediate vicinity. "This place feels different," Lieutenant Juno Williams said, her voice low and apprehensive as she worked at her console. "Like we're standing on the edge of something vast, something we're not meant to understand." Nadia nodded, her mind racing. The signal had led them here, but what awaited them beyond this point? A part of her felt the weight of responsibility for the entire crew, knowing that their very existence could be hanging in the balance. But another part of her, the part that had driven humanity to space in the first place, felt a burning curiosity. They were on the verge of something extraordinary, something that could reshape everything they knew about the universe and their place within it. "Anything new on the signal?" Nadia asked, her tone steady, though there was an edge of impatience behind her words. The uncertainty gnawed at her. Juno's fingers flew over the control panel, her eyes scanning the data that streamed across the screen. "It's expanding. The signal has grown in intensity, and now it's not just a transmission. It's more like an invitation. We're being drawn in." The words sent a chill down Nadia's spine. She turned to face her lieutenant. "Drawn in? Are you saying it's trying to pull us towards something?" Juno hesitated, unsure how to explain what she was seeing. "It's as if it's guiding us, pulling us towards some kind of threshold. We can't break free of it. It's like it wants us to cross a line." "Do we know what's on the other side of this line?" Nadia asked, her voice firm despite the unease that was beginning to creep into her thoughts. "Not yet," Juno replied, "but I don't think it's a threat. At least not in the traditional sense. It's more like it's testing us, pushing us forward to see what we'll do." Nadia's heart quickened. It was becoming clear that they weren't just dealing with an alien intelligence. They were dealing with a force that wasn't concerned with simple domination or conquest. This entity wasn't interested in destruction. It was something far more intricate, something that was observing, learning, and waiting. As the Eclipse sailed deeper into the unknown, the stars grew dimmer and the signal grew stronger. The ship's systems hummed with energy, reacting to the strange fields around them. Every fiber of Nadia's being told her that they were on the cusp of a discovery, one that would fundamentally alter their understanding of the universe. The question now was, what would humanity choose to do with this knowledge? The air on the bridge grew thick with anticipation, as if the very space around them was holding its breath. Then, without warning, the Eclipse lurched forward. The entire crew was thrown to one side, their bodies pressed against the walls as the ship jolted violently. Alarms blared, and the lights flickered in response to the sudden shift. "Report," Nadia barked, her voice cutting through the chaos. Lieutenant Williams, struggling to maintain her balance, quickly assessed the situation. "We've crossed into a new phase. The quantum field is changing. We're being pulled deeper into it, Commander. Our systems are stabilizing, but the gravity of the anomaly is increasing." Nadia's eyes scanned the view screen as the stars outside distorted into long streaks of light, bending and warping in ways that defied physics. The ship was no longer in regular space. It was now traveling through a pocket of space-time that was completely alien to them. "Are we sure this is a good idea?" Juno asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "We don't have a choice," Nadia replied. "We've come this far. We need to see this through." Her words carried the weight of determination. There was no going back now. The unknown stretched before them, an infinite expanse filled with promises of discovery and danger alike. But Nadia knew one thing for certain: humanity had always risen to meet the unknown. As the eclipse continued its journey, the alien signal now saturated the ship's systems, a constant hum that filled the crew's minds, urging them forward. It wasn't just a call. It was an invitation to join something greater than themselves. A challenge that, if they accepted, would lead them into the very heart of a cosmic mystery that no one, not even the Nexari, had ever dared to approach. The ship moved closer, drawn toward the core of the anomaly. The closer they came, the more the fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist. Time itself felt out of sync. Moments felt like hours, and hours felt like seconds. "Hold steady, everyone," Nadia ordered, her voice resolute. "Whatever is waiting for us on the other side of this threshold, we'll face it together. We're humans, and we don't shy away from the unknown." As the ship neared the event horizon of the anomaly, the crew braced for what lay ahead. They had crossed the line. There was no turning back. The future of humanity was now intertwined with whatever force had led them to this moment. They were no longer just travelers or explorers. They were pioneers, standing on the precipice of a new era. And what lay on the other side of the threshold, they could only imagine. But one thing was clear: humanity would not be the same after this. The heart of the unknown. The eclipse trembled as it crossed the event horizon of the anomaly. Time itself seemed to bend, and the ship's very structure groaned under the weight of the forces at play. It wasn't just a physical shift. It was a sensory one. The air on the bridge felt thick, almost as if it were pulsing with the rhythm of some alien heartbeat. The stars outside had stretched into streams of color, as though the fabric of space had unraveled, revealing something far beyond human comprehension. Commander Nadia Kruz stood at the helm, her hands gripping the control panel with a steady resolve. Her gaze was fixed on the swirling maelstrom outside the eclipse's viewports, where reality itself seemed to twist and turn. The quantum field had intensified to such a degree that their sensors could no longer detect the passage of time or space in any meaningful way. They were no longer in a place they could understand. "Commander, the ship's systems are stabilizing," Lieutenant Juno Williams reported, her voice strained as she worked to keep the ship's functions in check. "But we've entered a region of space where our instruments are useless. We have no readings, no navigation. We're completely cut off." Nadia's heart raced. For the first time since they had embarked on this journey, she felt a deep sense of unease. It wasn't just the uncertainty of their location. It was the sense that they were being watched. The alien presence that had led them here, through the signal and the quantum field, was no longer merely an observer. It was something far more personal, something that was now directly interacting with them. "We're not alone," Nadia muttered to herself. She felt the weight of the truth settle around her like a heavy cloak. "We've crossed into their domain." As the eclipse drifted deeper into the heart of the anomaly, the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated, creating moments of weightlessness followed by a crushing pull. The crew struggled to maintain their footing as the very air around them seemed to ripple with strange energies. "Is it alive?" Juno asked, her voice low and filled with awe. She had seen the data, the anomalies, the quantum shifts. But this was beyond anything she had imagined. Whatever was on the other side of this place, it was more than just a force. It was a presence, an intelligence. "I think we're inside something," Nadia replied, her voice calm but her eyes betraying the unease she felt. "But not just any place. This is not a natural phenomenon. It's something engineered, something alive. This anomaly is a living structure, or it's being controlled by an intelligence that understands spacetime at a level far beyond anything we've encountered. Suddenly, the ship lurched forward, the view outside the Eclipse's windows turning into a kaleidoscope of colors as the anomaly pulsed. For a brief moment, everything stopped. The ship, the light, the sound. It was as though they had reached a threshold beyond which even the concept of time no longer existed. And then, as if by an unseen hand, the Eclipse was gently pulled forward. The ship glided through a vast expanse of shimmering light and shadow, an infinite space that defied all logic. As the crew watched in silence, a strange pattern began to form ahead. Lines of energy, interwoven like a giant cosmic web, extending as far as the eye could see. "It's a structure," Juno said, her voice breathless. "Not just a field. A city. A machine." Nadia's eyes narrowed as the patterns became clearer. This was no ordinary anomaly. It was a construct, built to contain something, or someone. She wasn't sure what it was, but it was undeniably ancient. The architecture of the structure seemed to pulse with life, almost as if it were breathing, expanding, contracting in a rhythmic cycle that felt familiar. "We're not just passing through," Nadia realized aloud. "We're being guided. This is the heart of whatever force we've been dealing with." A low hum began to fill the Eclipse, emanating from the heart of the anomaly. It was not a sound, but a vibration, a resonance that seemed to penetrate into every part of the ship. It was as if the Eclipse itself was in tune with this place, as though it had been pulled into the rhythm of the universe itself. And then, as if responding to their arrival, a voice echoed through the ship's communication system. It wasn't a voice they could hear with their ears, but one they could feel in the very core of their being. It was not spoken, but communicated directly into their minds. "You have come far, humans, farther than any before you. But now, the true test begins." Nadia's breath caught in her chest. The voice wasn't one they could trace. It wasn't coming from the ship's speakers. It was coming from within the anomaly itself, from the very structure they were now inside. "Test?" Juno asked, her voice tight with both fear and curiosity. "What kind of test?" The voice was patient, almost amused. "The test of will. The test of survival. The test of your species' true potential. You have come seeking knowledge. Now you will prove you deserve it." The entire crew froze, the weight of the words sinking in. This was no ordinary alien force. This was a being, or a collective of beings, that had watched the universe for millennia. It had observed countless civilizations, tested them, and only those who had the strength to endure had ever been allowed to continue. "Prove we deserve it." Nadia's voice was steady, though her mind raced. "What do you want from us?" The voice did not respond immediately. Instead, the Eclipse seemed to grow heavier. The air grew thick, like the weight of an entire cosmos pressing down on them. They could no longer see the stars outside the ship, only the structure, stretching infinitely in all directions, filled with intricate patterns and glowing nodes. And then, without warning, the ship's systems went dark. The hum that had filled the ship ceased, leaving an eerie silence in its wake. The crew looked around, stunned. "Commander, we've lost everything," Juno said, her voice tinged with panic. "Navigation, communication, power, it's all gone." Nadia felt a cold surge of fear run through her. This was the test. They had been given a challenge, and now they were trapped. But as the darkness enveloped them, something shifted. A new light appeared ahead of them. It was not just light, it was knowledge. A symbol, ancient and vast, began to form in the center of the ship's viewing screen. It was a pattern, a blueprint, a message from the heart of the anomaly. It was not an enemy they faced. It was a trial, a challenge to prove that humanity could transcend its limitations and rise to meet the unknown. And they would not back down.